I'm missing something here. Mr. Runge, Chairman of the Tree and Beautification Commission, is going to give us an update on what they're going to be talking about this year.
First off, my name is Chris Runge. I live at 2425 15th Avenue. I am a city resident and also the newly elected chairman of the Tree and Beautification Commission.
And the biggest tree in Vero Beach, right?
I do. I have the champion live oak tree, which is close to 300 years old, and
wow.
You can come rake up the leaves. First, I want to thank Carl Zimmerman and hope that I will follow in his footsteps and work upon the foundation that he's laid. And what you'll find from me is I'm about casting vision. And what I'm going to bring to you tonight are our goals for 2016 and beyond. Our first short-term goal is Vero Beach Beautification Day, which is going to happen on the 13th and 14th of February. This remembers what was started by W.H. Humiston back in the 30s and encourages local residents to take pride in their property by either painting their mailbox, planting flowers, picking up palm fronds, whatever is inside their ability set, so that they're taking ownership in the city of Vero Beach and how it looks. Our next project that we're working on is termed the Million Orchid Project, and that's going to be done in cooperation with the Fairchild Tropical Gardens in Miami. They are currently raising native orchids, and the goal is to reestablish a native orchid population in the city of Vero Beach, and this is going to cost nothing, other than maybe going and picking up the orchids. Also, we want to work on continuing our relationship with the Downtown Business and Oceanside Business District in improving what they do as far as hanging baskets, planters, and whatever it might be. We want to encourage and affirm them as opposed to stand in their way. Long-term projects. The first one that's on the list is the Centennial Tree Project. It is our hope that the city staff, City Council, and all involved will get behind the planning and monumenting of a city project dedicating 100 years of our history. This would be a site-specific location, the planting of a tree, possibly a commemorative wall, plaque, whatever the vision is. We're simply hoping that this is something that matters to the city of Vero Beach, 100 years of anniversary. Next, we want to work on the canopying of the city boulevards. In our process of locating a site for the Centennial Tree, we first thought of doing a boulevard, but we found that an entire boulevard was not really available. So in that process, streets were identified where a canopy has been lost. And so we would like to take a 5-year, 10-year project and reestablish the oak canopy within our city. We also have to continue working on our Arbor Day celebration and maintaining our City USA tree status. And my real goal is going to be to challenge my commission members to take a vested interest in what they do, so that this is more than showing up to a meeting for 30 minutes and going home. We want them to come forward with projects, come forward with new members, and really make an impact on the city of Vero Beach long term. That's all I have for you.
Thanks, Mr. Runge.
Any questions?
Thank you, sir, and thank you for, congratulations on your election. We look forward to, some exciting things from the Tree Commission again.
Yeah, getting elected got me access to the coffee pot, and that's...
We understand.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Ms. Carol Makris and Sue DeNino.
And company.
And company, yes.
Hi, I'm Sue DeNino, 5125 Tradewinds. I represent the Vero Beach Art Club, current president. This is Carol Makris. She's a muralist extraordinaire. And this is Rebecca Van Court, and she's the club's vice president, my heir apparent. You guys probably don't know this, but 2016 marks our 80th anniversary of our club being in existence.
Wow.
And we're going to celebrate the entire year. And to kick off our celebration, we're going to do something that Rob and his department has asked us, and that's we have taken a look at where they would like a new mural. That's in Riverside Park on the south side of the park. North. No. South side. No. Not north wall. North side of the park. Not where the Oaks is. North side of the park.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's okay.
North side of the park.
Maybe not. Okay.
Go for it.
So after we completed the Bethel Creek House, which was a very successful mural, Rob's racquetball building looks like the next logical place to make a major improvement. The north side of the racquetball building is really plain, but it's the beginning of the walking trail. There's a nice little bench there for viewing. It'll get a lot of visibility. The art club selected Carol Macris to be the project manager for this mural. We appeared before the Recreation Commission 2 weeks ago. They loved the concept pictures we showed them. They obviously forwarded us here. We would like to encourage you to approve soon because we would like to not do this like we did last summer in the heat. We'd like to get started like in February. I'm going to let Carol show you her pictures. And also, we're going to pass out our 80th anniversary decals. We'd like you to stick them on your car. So here's Carol. Can I talk about you?
Okay. My name is Carol Macris, and I'm a professional muralist, fine artist represented at the Artist Guild Gallery, faux finisher, and I've had my own business here in Vero Beach called Artistic Brushworks, and I've been in business since 2002.
Can I start with this one?
Sure.
You want to put them
So-
up on the overhead so that way everybody can see
That would be
them?
good.
Yeah, I think
Turning it on for you.
we'll see if technology agrees with us today.
Well, I'm not real sure. That thing seems to give everybody some problems, so I'm not sure if I'd be any help. The expert will take care of
Being
that.
the rookie being the doesn't help.
No.
Hazards of being in that chair.
That's right.
So my first idea was birds of Florida or birds of the park, and I selected 7 different birds. It could be any one of those could be changed out if you don't like one of them, but there. And the proportion of the sketch is in proportion to the size of the wall. It's 24 feet high and 42 feet long. So these birds would be quite large on that wall.
Which wall are you talking about?
The north wall.
It's right at the beginning of the trail.
And this one is just your traditional Indian River lagoon scene. Also just showing wildlife, and other elements could be added to it, like a kayaker or something like that. But
Which wall is this?
Same wall.
You have to pick one out of
3 different ideas for the same
Okay,
wall.
so it's all the north wall we're talking about, only the north wall.
Yeah, and we're just
Just like last time, Dick, we're going to ask you to pick the one you like, and that's the one we'll go with.
Thank you.
And the last one is the most artistic in its conceived idea, being a color waterfall with flying fish flying out of it, and they're in different colors as well. And it's the simplest and easiest to execute on that one. Any questions?
So I think all of your sketches are just incredible.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. It's just wonderful to have this tough a choice. And I have to tell you, I'm surprised that I have fallen in love with your waterfall. Normally, because I guess it's a bit modern
Well-
and colorful, but I love it for
Well-
that space. I just think that that would be my choice.
Color
Leave
does
it to
have
the
an
rest of the council,
influence.
but it would be.
Color has an influence on people's moods. So I think it creates a sense of happiness, seeing lots of bright,
You're not moving.
happy colors.
You know,
I like color.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I mean, I saw these for the first time, and I went out and looked at the building today. And when we did the other mural, which I happen to like, I've got a number of calls about it. I think we need to wait 2 weeks before we choose one and get some people. I'm not an artist, and have it a little bit of time for it to percolate rather than do it just all in one day. And art's in the eye and the mind and so on. And I'm really not prepared today to pick one. I'm not saying. I mean, the building looks like hell, quite frankly. What are you going to do with the other 3 walls and the doorway into it? Mm-hmm. But with that said and done, I think we should give this just a little bit of time.
Rob Slezak, Recreation Director. Just to let you know, we'll be amenable to, of course, what the council requests. The other thing is that we definitely support having the mural. We know it'll beautify that wall, and like you said, it looks like an old jail is what it really looks like.
It looks worse than that.
It really does. It does. And what we did was last summer, we had that building budgeted for $30,000 worth of work of painting it, cleaning up some of those cracks, repainting the lines over on the practice wall, in addition working on getting the grading back up on top of the building. Talk to building maintenance. That wouldn't be a problem with us incorporating this project and having that work done, and it still should be way under budget. And
has it been shown to the museum, because it's going to be visible from the museum?
It has not been shown to the museum that I'm aware of, but I know it has been shown to the Recreation Commission, and they unanimously supported it.
It won't be visible to the museum.
No.
The museum is way west of that.
Well, you can see the north wall quite clearly, because I saw it today, and you can see it quite clearly. And not that that's the end of the world, but you really can't.
Right. Ms. Mackerel.
I'm just, the last mural which I supported and which I happen to like, I've got at least 6 or 7 telephone calls. And what I was told was, you just did it. You don't know anything about art. Well, that's certainly true. And, you didn't give it time to percolate. So, I can live with it, but I'd like to do it in 2 weeks, not now.
I think the last mural we had phone calls. We all received phone calls was because of the red, the red base, and they were thinking that it was all going to be. Yeah, is this going to be a red thing? And it was a bit shocking. Once it was painted over, I think it was fine.
Mr. Howell?
I think these are all beautiful. I think you're a very talented woman, Mrs. Mackerel, and I wanted to ask you, because if I'm prepared to choose today, I like these 2 depictions, the landscape and the flying fish in particular.
Those were inspiration photos from which I worked off my sketches.
Okay, my question then is, over time, will one fare better than another? I know that one looks obviously more difficult than another, but as time goes on, will one look better for a longer period, in your opinion? Or
You mean as far as what, color?
that's right.
Weather.
Colors fading, maybe
It will,
mold or.
Get a top coating of clear over it to protect it, which, like, I would recommend every 2 or 3 years to do another clear coating to keep it looking fresh and not get any weather.
I see. Okay. Thank you. Council, I'm willing to take a vote today on one of these.
What color is the wall right now?
Gray.
Gray.
It's a beautiful this.
Oh, it's straight. You put it up already. Okay.
And you can see where the blocks are joined one another.
Battleship Gray.
It's a mess.
Well, again, a lot of times I don't like taking action on public comment. If we've got some council members that want to take a little bit of time, I'm fine with that. I mean,
I can make a favorable decision in 2 weeks, but I just, you won't get me tonight.
What does the percolation mean to you?
Public comment. I'm the one that firmly believes that everything should have a chance, and the public, if they like it or don't like it, they should have a chance to say. I've consistently take that position. And I did not see this today, and I doubt very many of the public have seen it today. So that I always have a problem with that.
Yeah, that was sort of my point. How are they going to see it? How are you going to inspire them?
It's been on the television now, so they can see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so they're warned at this point in time. But one of the things I don't like is a council of 5 people deciding anything without without notice and having a chance. We faced the same issue with the skateboard park. Great idea. But, we pushed back and said, well, let's at least have the neighbors know that this is happening. It's just how I feel about it.
Tammy, can this rendition be on the city website?
That'd be a great idea if
Yeah,
on the
good
website.
idea. Yeah.
What do you say?
Yeah, the new ones that we just
Yeah.
brought in. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, Rebecca's going to pass out the decals, and I wanted to remind you guys, this weekend is Art by the Sea at the museum. Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. Friday night's the cocktail party, and it's free.
Thank you.
So, hope to see you guys there.
Well, I think I'm going to give you your drawings back. I mean, there's no doubt you've got a favorable, opinion probably from the council. It's just a matter of making sure we get proper notice out there. So hopefully we'll bring this back around next meeting, and then you guys can get possibly started.
Get going. Yep.
And let's put it on the agenda next meeting, Jay. Why don't you put it on?
Well, yeah, I've got that on there. And is there a possibility of using gray primer?
Of what?
Gray primer?
Gray primer?
We used red primer last time, and the whole thing just blew up.
All the colors down now. It's better
Yeah.
to start white.
Oh, with white?
White's
fine.
good.
Just don't use red.
Yeah, the red was a little shocking for everybody, yeah.
I think so.
I just want to tell you so that you know, we really would love to have you put these on your back window to support the Vero Beach Art Club. These go on the outside of the window, not the inside.
Okay.
And let them sit for a couple of days before you put your car through the car wash, and it should adhere just fine.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate your support.
Thank you so much.
Last thing, I'll make it fast. Special thank you to our club for everything they've done for us.
Oh, absolutely.
Between
Yeah,
the
indeed.
mural and Community Center, Bethel Creek, and now they're looking at this, and they've been fantastic. So,
Thank you.
With that, we'll go ahead and open it up for public comment.
Good evening.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. My name is Miles Conway, address 2340 South A1A in unincorporated Indian River County, wishing to become part of the city of Vero Beach. I have one of my colleagues from the South Beach Property Homeowners Association, Mr. Carter Taylor, as well. I'm a director of the South Beach Property Homeowners Association and also a member of the Indian River Neighborhood Association. However, tonight I appear before you as a member of a slightly smaller club, and that is the South Beach Oceanfront Doctors Club. If you have a look at your monitors, the area that we live in is this little, about 3 acres in total in the south part of the county adjacent to Round Island Park. There is another colleague of our club over here who lives right on the county line. And if I move the slide a little bit further for you, this is where I am. Just one subdivision to the south of Round Island Park. Dr. Gilman, my neighbor to the north, is a dentist, and he owns 0.7 acres of oceanfront property. Dr. Foreman to the north of him is a radiologist. He also owns 0.7 acres, and I own approximately 2 acres. The value of our collective properties, according to the trim sheet, as based on 2014 trim, is that my property was valued by the property appraiser at about $3.3 million. Dr. Foreman was at about 1.3, and Dr. Gilman was at about 1.3. So collectively, those 3 properties, excluding the one on the county line, accounted and appraised for approximately $6 million in terms of those 3 properties. Apart from that, I'm also quite a good customer of the city of Vero Beach. I spent contributed towards your general fund last year in the vicinity of probably between $10,000 to $12,000. my electric surcharge in this 1 month was $448, and then the one that galls me more than the $448 is the Indian River County franchise fee. So I'm a pretty good customer in every respect. Now, what confused me is when I bought here, I'm going on a 24-year resident in Indian River County, is when I bought property in 1992, I came to the City Hall to get my water and utility, which is served. I'm on septic tank, as are my neighbours. And then I had to walk over or drive over to an old hospital to get my building permits to build my property. And it never made sense to me at the time. And then what I'd like to share with you is a vintage copy of a 24-year-old, approximately 24-year-old front page article from the Vero Press Journal that was 25 cents in those days and worth buying a subscription, unlike today. Okay? And in that publication of 23 years ago, that's why I was chuckling when the lady was talking about the vision statement that collected dust in the bottom of the pile and we should bring it out. If that has collected dust, I'd like to see what's on this study that was done 23 years ago. It indicates in this study at all the members, South Beach residents, are taking a look at annexation. And we were talking about the the South Beach Property Homeowners Association. It says all the association's 18 subdivision members are in the unincorporated area of Indian River County. The group, which also includes 2 individual members, represents almost 1,900 households. The annex issue is among several of the association has appointed committees to investigate. The annexation committee is taking an in-depth look at the pros and cons of the idea, Association Secretary Frank Spitzmiller said. Areas of consideration include the impact on taxes and services. At the last South Beach Property Homeowners Association, which was quite a raucous little affair, bearing in mind the average age is probably about 85 years old of our group, I asked the question, where is the study and where are the results? Mr. Fritz Spitzmiller and Mr. Carter Taylor can attest to that discussion. There was never anything done. Our association did a lot of talking, but there was no action. And this galled me particularly because, as I said, it never made any sense to us whatsoever. Then what happened is, in between 2011 and 2013, I had to go overseas for a couple of research projects and work projects, 15 months at a time. And lo and behold, when I returned in late 2013, I'd found unilaterally that the area that I'd lived in had transformed itself from Indian River County to Indian Rental County, and my address had changed from Vero Beach in Indian River County to Indian Rental County without my knowing it. And what then transpired is, to catch up on all of the activity of what was going on, a number of blogs and a number of newspaper articles and media articles had subsequently come out on the internet, and I had to catch up very, very fast as to exactly what was going on. Then this year, in 2015, there was an article written, "Annexation may be the only hope for the South Barrier Island residents." And what this article was effectively referring to is the ongoing daily fight that we are having in the unincorporated areas of Indian River County to reclaim our residential zoning status and the quiet tranquility and the quiet enjoyment of our properties as a result of transient boarding houses moving into residential neighborhoods and just upsetting the whole calculus of what we had traditionally expected that we bought into in 1992. We bought into residential neighborhoods that we thought would prevail. Unfortunately, in 2012, as a result of the state of Florida in 2011 revoking local rule, etc., unlike this group, this form of local government, namely the city of Vero Beach, clinging like bulldogs from 2011, 2012, continuing with your legal fights to maintain your grandfather clause to preserve the integrity of your residential neighborhoods, my local government in the county decided to revoke our residential status, throw out our grandfather clause, and allow transient boarding houses, which traditionally, before 2012, under their bylaws, was classified as a hotel or a motel because any activity, rental activity less than 30 days fell into that category. That grandfather clause and that constitution was thrown out the window. So what we have is a situation now in our residential neighborhoods where a transient boarding house, which is a de facto commercial business, because legal transient boarding houses have to obtain a state license from the Department of Professional Business Regulation to operate, constitutes them as a business they can now operate in our neighborhoods. And I actually chuckle when I hear the gentleman from the Chamber of Commerce talk about the state of our hotels and the state of unemployment and the state of our economy and what we should be doing about it. Well, as a practicing economist of 25, 30 years, both in the academic and the professional area, one of the concepts in economics that we learned in microeconomics, and Mr. Howley, you probably know this, is a concept called cross-elasticity of demand. And what cross-elasticity of demand, and if any of the Chamber of Commerce people want to have their microeconomists call me, I'll take them through the process. What essentially cross-elasticity of demand says is that when you have a demand for a particular product in a particular area, like the city of Vero Beach hotels operating, and then in another market you have transient boarding houses which provide the same type of service as those hotels do at a much lower price, the demand and the revenue generated by the one product in the one market is undercut. So basically what is happening is in unincorporated Indian River County, you're having cheap accommodation being provided, which is having a negative impact on the more professional commercial organizations like your traditional hotels and motels, because if they don't provide this cheap accommodation in those areas, they would be forced to go into these hotels, and in fact what would happen is you would have stimulus and growth, because when the demand starts exceeding it because there's no alternative product, you would have an increase in construction and activity in the traditional Vero Beach growth industry. That would be a growth industry in itself. And so for somehow that economic concept just doesn't seem to have percolated to the powers that be. But anyhow, our concern and my presence here and Mr. Carter's presence here tonight is to request this council to pass a motion instructing city staff to please start off the process that the South Beach Property Homeowners Association started 23 years ago and never completed, to run the numbers for us, to please tell us if we had to go through the voluntary annexation procedure through a referendum, what our property taxes would be, what our utilities would be, what our services would be. Just tell us, give us a prospectus, because we would like to go back to our constituents and the whole of South Beach and say, okay, ladies and gentlemen, fellow neighbours, true neighbours, here are what the real numbers are, because I don't know what the numbers are at this stage. I read in 32963 that you're the most horrible and incompetent group that's ever been put on the face of the earth. Okay, and I don't believe it. I don't believe that for 1 minute. And you hear in the Vero Press Journal similar remarks. Being an economist, I would like to make a decision weighing on the financial side of things, but also on the social and psychological costs associated with those economic decisions. I would like to see the numbers. I know one number that will disappear is my Indian River County franchise tax of 6% will automatically go off that. And let us decide democratically in unincorporated Indian River County in the South Beach area whether we have a better home and better protection of our quiet enjoyment property rights going forward with the city of Vero Beach as opposed to Indian River County, or Indian Rental County as I prefer to refer to at the moment. Now, I want to be fair to some of the Board of County Commissioners, or some of the Board of Rental Commissioners as they are now euphemistically referred to as well. There have been steps made in terms of trying to get hold of this problem of transient boarding houses in residential neighbourhoods. Commissioner O'Brien particularly has been helpful, and he has actually listened to us, and he's passed parking ordinances. He's sponsored parking ordinances to stop 25 cars in a residential neighbourhood and all the disruption. I mean, when I was listening to the noise you were talking about with the skate park, come and live in our shoes when 25 drunks on skateboards are in our neighbourhood going down county roads. I mean, it was actually quite a chuckle. So there have been steps taken at the county level to try and pacify and calm our neighbourhoods down. But unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, there's a situation that for every one step forward, the county invariably takes 2 steps back. And one of the 2 steps back that they have taken is the appointment of what they call a short-term rental advisory committee. It sounds great in concept because what it basically is supposed to be a blue ribbon advisory committee that would advise the council and everybody on additional regulations. What in fact it has actually turned out to be, which is quite scary and quite disconcerting, is it's merely a trade industry lobbying group. And the best way I could describe it, Mayor Kramer has actually come along and sat in this conflict situation with us and got a first-hand appreciation. But Mrs. Turner and Mr. Howley and Mr. Winger and Mr. Auld, the best way I can describe it and sensitize it to you, the way is by analogy. What this short-term rental advisory committee is akin to appointing the drilling team of the Exxon Oil Corporation on protecting the environment and coming up with environmental regulations, most notably with this gentleman being their chairman.
What are you wanting from us? Okay,
what I would like from you, Mayor Kramer, is to propose a motion to instruct staff to start off the process of voluntary annexation by coming up with an impact statement as to what our property taxes would be, what our utilities would be, all of the different financial parameters that go into as part of the kickoff process. And then, may I just finish? I've got one more.
Sure.
I've got one more thing, and then I'll turn it out. The other analogy that I also use about this rental advisory committee is it's akin to the National Rifle Association being appointed, the board of directors of the National Rifle Association being appointed to come up with gun control and putting this gent as chairman. And that's the situation that we've faced. 1 step forward and 3 steps back. And we feel that if the priority of local government, as it is that we perceive in the city of Vero Beach, is to put people before profits rather than profits before people, and to preserve our quality of life, we feel we have a better home with you than where we are at the moment. Thank you. And I'll take any questions.
Thank you.
Yes. No, certainly we would welcome an expansion of the city of Vero Beach, Dr. Conway. I mean, I do believe the city has many strengths and many things to offer, an unincorporated area. However, I am concerned when you're looking at annexation, Mr. Common, isn't there some things that the city itself cannot be involved with the group, that they have to petition the city? They have to make the effort that we can't actively go out and seek annexation?
Well, There are various methods which are governed by state statute on how you annex, and certainly the doctor is talking about voluntary annexation, but that would take a large, a majority of the people wanting to annex. You would probably still have to have a referendum either way. But what he's speaking of, the statute does talk of basically a report, an analysis of the impacts, the ability to serve. And what he's talking about, it is pretty unique in that the city of Vero Beach already provides utilities all the way down to the county line and beyond, actually, both electric, water, sewer, not sewer in his case, but a lot of it it's just work that Jim's staff would obviously have to do to do all the calculations. Right, they get police, garbage collection, all those things come with the services, right?
Yeah. And Mrs. Turner, the reason we're asking for this is that it would be extremely helpful for us then to pick up our responsibility under the statute to then come up with the number of the petitions and the number of people to get it on the referendum. But I'm asked questions by my neighbours in different neighbourhoods. Well, what is it? What if we move into the city of Vero Beach? What are my taxes going to be?
Yeah.
How much are you going to charge me for electricity? And I can't answer these questions without your help.
Yeah.
So in other words, I'm saying you're the custodians of the intelligence and information that we need to come back to you and say, there's 8,000 of us that want to join you. Please. Yeah. Put it on the referendum for everybody to decide.
I don't see any problem with us providing those numbers, right?
No. As a matter of fact, Wayne has a copy of the 1987 study that was done, but we don't go down to everybody's individual house.
Right.
It would be a general in nature. The individual houses would have to come to us, or we could, but we would do an analysis of what the average impact would be and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, Jim, the county has a municipal service tax, which is a couple of years ago was $118, and you have the tax bill right there. Go back to it just for the fun of it. Go to your tax bill. One page farther, I think, maybe.
Oh, the
electric, the water bill.
The water utility bill.
Yeah. Oh. Well, you have your tax bill.
That's the 6%.
Yeah,
it will tell you what the municipal tax rate was. It was
the trim notice.
Your trim notice.
Yeah, it's actually easy to look up.
Then I give it.
I edited the trim on this one, but that's the full trim.
Yeah, I think some things would be quite easy, but then knowing what the extent of the source would be.
Mr. O'Connor, what would be helpful to us? We're not looking on the individual basis. What we're looking for is probably 3 or 4 areas. If you have a look at our subdivision, starting out with Castaway Cove and then moving down to Wind Cove and then in the moorings. If there was just some... So if I meet somebody from a subdivision in the moorings that doesn't have a homeowners association protection, and like Reef Road, for example, what would be our utility and property taxes in Reef Road? Just some general areas rather than.
Well, here, let me answer your first question. Property tax, our ad valorem tax is $238, give or take a few decimal points. You're paying $107 to the county. So that you'd be paying $131 more to the city than you are for the county the services. You'd lose the 6% electric franchise tax,
paying county tax,
and you would pay a different rate on your waste removal. The city's rates are slightly different. They're not material. And on your water and sewer, depending upon how much water and sewer you used, if you're a small user, you'd pay less than you do now. If you're a large user, you'd pay a bit more than you are now.
Yeah.
But those are the only calculations that go into it. And the major one, the only one that amounts to anything is the difference between 107 and 238. That's material. So that's the added tax you'd pay.
Yeah.
The rest of it, and you'd lose the 6% franchise fee. The water and sewer are going to be almost a wash for the average person, and the garbage and waste is almost a wash. So it's the 6% you lose, plus you go from 107 to 238.
Yeah. Well, the tax would go down as well with the increased revenues. That's got to get recalculated.
Well,
No, then you have to have police service to
That's
cover
true, but
it
it's not as
for
much
the
as it would
area
be
as well.
main.
that would be a topic for council. I mean, you could do a lot of things, I suppose.
Well, if it's just possible, if you could take the 2007 report or whatever it is and just update it so we have a document in hand that we can start.
I'm with Randy. I'm all for it.
That we can start circulating it amongst the South Beach and get the required number of petitions together. And I've already signed the form right at the back over here to get the process going. There's my application right there, and I'd like to come in with
I think there must be some way to have somebody be able to look at their bills and say, this comes off, this changes, and this
goes up.
And the answer to the question is we can do that, and we can randomly select different homes on the South Beach and pull their utilities, property taxes, and any other fees they may choose. Would that help you?
And then each person can do their own.
This is the 1987 study.
Yeah.
And the only thing it does is it justifies to the city that annexation is justifiable for the South Beach. And
We'd love it, what he thought about.
And this is what the conclusion was, that we already provide all the utilities and the services and all that. And so the conclusion is, yes, annexation is a benefit to the city of Vero Beach.
Yeah.
But I think what you're looking for is something that's more marketable that compares apples to apples in a utility bill. And the answer to that question, let us see if we can run some addresses down, because we have access to all their utility bills. We can pull those out and then put it side by side if you were paying city taxes, city utilities.
Miles, why don't you give us five properties of disparate value and disparate, because we know what the water bill is, we know what we know what the bills are.
Sure.
If you can just give us addresses, we'll run those down because we have access to the taxes.
We have all the data.
And then when you're talking to people, you can say, you can take your water bill and here's what you need to do. You can take your taxes and
we'll just run it over our utility account and give you those numbers.
Provided you don't mind, Mr. O'Connor, if I come back 20, 30 times, because when I start going around into the neighborhoods and I get...
No problem at all. Because
I get Mrs. Carol Bufferming, Anglers Cove, who's been a resident for 45 years and has listens to what is in 32963 and doesn't like what she hears about all of you, just as long as you'll run the numbers for every nay that I get in the neighborhood. Because personally, Mr. O'Connor, and personally, ladies and gentlemen, I would take an increase in my property taxes to get away from these transient boarding houses that I would consider that
Well, maybe we can hold you to that. Huh?
Yeah. No, Mr. Ord, if you have to sit in our seats, you will know it's basically coming down to that, where these transient boarding houses are de facto taxes on our quality of our life as it is at the moment. And that's what we're asking. We're asking for a safe harbour and a safe refuge away from these things, because we are very concerned with this rental advisory committee and having to go before the council like paupers and begging them to get control of our neighbourhoods and try and re-establish some semblance of normalcy in our residential neighbourhoods. If that's the price that we have to pay, I'm willing to pay it.
You just get us a handful of the addresses that you want. We'll start with those, and whenever you get a new one, just send them over. We'll do the analysis.
And Mr. Mayor, if you could please just hear my colleague out for a few minutes as well, because I think he can add to the mix as well.
My assumption is this is not a cost. Big cost item?
Well,
no.
Okay.
Well, let me just insert something. One of the things he's talking about is before the city could proceed with an annexation action, an ordinance, there's certain things have to be done. And one of them is the requirement for a report. But it's similar to this one, what the statute requires, it has to do with the ability of the city to serve the area and the impact on the current city services and how well the city can serve in those service areas, everything from police to water, sewer, garbage. It doesn't really get into taxation questions. It's just the legislature making sure that the residents can be served. So what he's asking for is something a little bit different from what the statute requires.
But Wayne, in fear of sounding naive, and I probably am, I need some clarification. Dr. Conway's looking at annexing, and again, I may be wrong, his neighborhood.
No, the whole of the South.
All the way
Beach.
from,
It has to be
from Castaway Cove.
From Castaway Cove to the county line.
Harry,
The
it has
whole-
to be
the whole kit and
contiguous.
caboodle.
That's what I
And you
thought.
can't,
Okay.
you can't pick one lot out.
Yeah, it's got to be contiguous.
That's why I had to ask, because that didn't make sense.
Yeah, it's contiguous, Mr. Howley. It's contiguous, all the way from Castaway Cove to the county line.
And so hypothetically speaking, if this landmass were annexed, hypothetically speaking, I would imagine we don't have the infrastructure in place, in other words, garbage pickup and things like that today to support that.
We could start it in less than a month because you're already furnishing everything down there.
Mr. Howley, we get everything. We get water, we get
then garbage and
electric,
police, I think,
and I
too.
believe, although I'm on septic tank, I believe that the $16 mansions that just got auctioned off the other day, so I stand corrected, but I believe you have sewage down there now, because I remember having my driveway ripped up to accommodate big bloody pipes going right through the right-of-way all the way on A1A. So the only difference from what we see in terms of service is police.
Well, we
And
even
the trash
have
collection.
we even have reuse down there because we serve the golf course.
Okay.
So from a typical municipal utility, we're pretty well on top of that. And again, going back to 1987, and I would dare say that it stands true today from a city's perspective. This is a no-brainer. It is a couple of pieces of paper, but it's a no-brainer that we could provide it service.
Well, thank you for the clarification.
And I think it's a win-win for both of us, for both parties. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Taylor?
Thank you for this allotment of time. My name is Carter Taylor. I'm an officer and a director of the South Beach Property Owners Association, the same organization that in 1992 took a look at the annexation opportunity or issue. Nothing was done about it at that time. And I can tell you that today the issues remain pretty much the same. The more things change, the more they remain the same. There will be many people who will reject the suggestion of annexation out of hand without giving it any consideration. I'm not one of them. I think that there may be several advantages to the South Beach area for annexation. And if the city would undertake the study, as Dr. Conway has requested, I can assure you that I will bring before the South Beach Property Owners Association a proposal to reconstitute that committee to act as a partner to see if the facts that are exposed reveal that it is in fact advantageous, or if it is not advantageous, however the facts may land for the property owners in our area that the South Beach Association represents. So I think it would be very important to expose these facts and to give it a fair hearing without any a priori conditions. One thing that you might want to consider in your analysis is that the addition of the South Beach area to the city of Vero Beach would significantly increase the tax base to the city of Vero Beach. So it's not a static analysis in which you have the same costs on a utility bill or a real estate tax bill. You may discover that the cost to serve the South Beach, the marginal cost to serve the South Beach, is far in excess of the additional, far less than the additional tax revenue that's being generated. And therefore, you really have to look at it in the terms of the big picture. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
My assumption is that council's okay if the staff goes ahead and generates the numbers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we talking just the financial numbers for them to look at, or do you want the actual statutory report done?
Just the financials.
Just the financials.
Let's get the financials going, and then he'll have a presentation. I believe
I was going to say, until they have strong support from the South Beach Association, I wouldn't go any farther.
They need the numbers for support. So let's just take that first step. If we're actually going to do the statutory step, I think that needs to be an agenda item.
Right.
Okay, so you guys have got your first step. Is there any other member of the public that'd like to speak under public comment? If not, we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Is there any? I believe we're on the consent agenda. Yes, we are. Is there any item that council?
I don't want to pull one, but I just think this number 5. the idea of going ahead and doing this the park, those people really ought to be congratulated. The amount of money they've raised to do the parks in this city have been unbelievable.
That's number 6, right?
Is it number 6?
Yeah, mine is the airport.
I'm sorry, Go Play Vero. Yeah.
We had Eric nervous.
I'm trying to applaud Go Play Vero. I just think that what they've done
absolutely.
is unbelievable. And
actually, it's under construction tonight.
yeah, I just
You want to be honest about it.
yeah, I think it's great.
Just one thing with Go Play, and I know Monty's here, and he can speak on their behalf of the project that you're voting on tonight. One of the things that Go Play is also looking at, just to let you know, and they had let us know at a meeting last week, is that they are looking forward to possibly helping out new playgrounds either at Troy Moody Park or Charles Park is their next one up on the board.
It's
just to let you know. They're voting on that. They're going to have that vote, I believe, February 1st.
Mr. Kramer, number 4, I'd like to do with the rent, so I guess I'm pulling it for that simple reason.
I'll pull 5 too, because I got 2 people that have been sitting here for a long time, and I'd like to give them the opportunity to come up and explain this.
I think they're happy, Mr. Mayor. If you
Well,
have any comments, we
it's
just
a good
approve
thing to talk about.
It is a good thing.
Is there any other things we want to talk about? If not, a motion to approve what's left?
Motion to approve 1 through 3 and 6.
Yep.
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let's talk about the lease over at the
My
marina.
only question is, I don't know what the lease dollars are, I guess is my question. You
Tim should know. It's been adjusted up, I think, around 10% over the years.
Tim Grainbauer, Marina Director. It's $3,900 a month.
Okay.
Does that compare with other commercial properties? Are we?
It was when we first did it. I don't know that it's kind of a unique place. It's just under $15 a square foot right now.
And we're adding 2 5-year renewal options to it?
Yeah, what he would like to do is to have us, because he wants to replace the roof. He's responsible for the roof. He did tell me that, if he needed to get out of it after the first term, that, he's more than happy to let us have our roof. So, but if we do the 2 additional ones, we go beyond the payoff on the debt service for that property. And he's a good tenant. He pays on time.
He's got to pay for that roof.
Correct. Yeah, it's $51,000.
He's also helping us pay the debt service on that as well. So that's another issue.
All right.
Well, I don't have any problem with it. I just wanted to know.
Yep, $3,900.
Make a motion.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve it then.
Second.
Mr. Mayor.
Any other conversation? My apologies. I guess before we take our motions, we've got to make sure that we got public comment. So I'm hoping if there is public comment on these. If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Mr. Menger? Now, I heard a little bit about this today, but my assumption is that we're going to get this all done before the air show kicks into gear.
I was talking about Taxiway Charlie, which what we're going to try to on that discussion we had today. There's several projects we have to work around the air show. We hope to have this one done by September 30th, and we will try to do what we can to ensure that the ramp is completed by or around the dates of the air show. We're going to be working several sections of the west apron to do this whole project, so it won't all be where we need to have the air show activity.
Okay. Well, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
And this is a very good public-private partnership, as you see in here, and the penalty clause is they would be in violation of their lease if they don't come through with their portion of the contract.
Any questions?
Did we have a second?
I seconded it, yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
Thank you.
Okay. Public hearings. Ms. Falk, you want to read that one?
Sure. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Vero Beach, Florida, determining that certain city-owned real property comprising of 1.64 acres plus, located at the northeast corner of 19th Place, State Road 60 eastbound, and 12th Court in the City of Vero Beach, commonly referred to as the old diesel power plant, with an address of 1139 19th Place, is no longer needed by the city, and authorizing the city manager to offer said real property for sale, providing for conflict and severability, and providing for an effective date. Requested by the City Council.
Is this our second reading?
Yes, sir. This is the final.
That is a final, and this allows us to go ahead and get this property, get the RFP completed?
It's already out, and it's due back the 21st of January.
Wonderful.
Mr. Mayor, one comment about this, and I know we all agree on this. It isn't necessarily the most amount of money, it's the highest and best use, whatever that happens to be, in our best combined judgment, all five of us, or the city manager included. In other words, somebody may offer us less money, but it may be better for the city.
We've made all bidders aware that there will be two primary elements. There are other elements that would also be into consideration, but two primary. One is the price, and the other is the land use and the projected land use of the property. So those are the two primaries. Sustainability is another issue, but we would be working with that depending on who the bidders are.
Okay. You want a motion? Or do
Well,
you have
if there's no public comment, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to pass it.
Okay. All right.
Discussion, Stone. What's the status of our litigation on this property?
Well, first, we're still waiting to see who the judge is going to be assigned to the case. There is still pending a result from Judge Cox as to the motion for summary judgment on the issue of the fraud count in the plaintiff's case. I know, as I probably already reported, Judge Canarak had recused himself because of ties with one of the parties' wife that became a judge, so he recused himself. So we don't know if Judge Cox will keep the case or not. We're waiting on the chief judge to assign that. We had hoped it was going to be on the trial calendar for this month, but it's not looking very good. So
frustration is the word as it relates to this litigation.
Yes.
I've never seen anything like this.
Is this going to hold up the sale?
No, because we now have possession.
We've got possession. Yeah. The only thing hanging is still there's a non-terminated lease, and of course they have a mortgage on their leasehold interest, but they've surrendered possession. So
it's prudent to move forward without a verdict.
It's prudent to move forward. As I explained to the city manager, when someone does a title search and they find the mortgage, the lease recorded, it could very well be an exception in the title insurance policy. So we were hoping things would be resolved by this time, but it looks like it's going to be a little bit longer when it comes to the litigation.
In the RFP, how did we address the environmental issues site?
We have sent to everyone with an RFP the interim draft of the latest of the environmental studies, and this would have been Sarah Whitaker's firm following up on the Phase 1 and Phase 2 from our tenants study, and it shows what they're doing and her proposed plan for remediation.
Thank you. Okay.
If there's not any more questions, Ms. Fox?
Are those two things outstanding? Are they going to affect the price of it? I mean,
They might.
Yeah.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think all the discussion affects price. You know, you do the risk analysis, and if it's a green field and there's no issue, then you're going to get a better price than if it's one that's sort of.
I think one thing that's important is Sarah Whitaker, our expert, has said, and she's ready to testify in court, that has been and there is absolutely no reason the property can't be developed.
And even the guy from the state out of Brevard County who represents the Florida Department of Environmental Protection said if you went along with the site plan that was submitted 5 years ago, we wouldn't even be at the table right now.
But it's just that it's still out there and overhanging, and I think it definitely will have an effect on the price withdrawal.
That is correct.
Thanks.
Okay, if there's no more discussion, Ms. Fox, would you call the roll?
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mr. Winger?
Yes.
Mrs. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Old?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes. Okay. I'm going to make the assumption, Ms. Falk, you have no matters.
No, sir.
Mr. O'Connor.
We have come to a tentative agreement with the police union. Jason Odom is here, and Gabriel Manis, our Human Resources Director, who were the principals in negotiating that terms and conditions of that agreement. It is for 3 years. The benefit to the 3 years is we will not be sitting down and going over all these terms every year, running up Jason's bills.
That's being at City Hall.
There is one opener, and Jason will cover that.
Thank you, Mayor Kramer and Council. As Mr. O'Connor said, it is a 3-year deal, which is coming on the back of another 3-year deal that we did have with the police. And so that is a good thing to have that stability with the employees of the police department. I guess a couple important highlights for you. The pay increase to the employees of the police department was in line with council's directive in terms of the amounts that were allocated to the police department. So that's a good thing. There's no mandatory increase in year 2 or 3 of the agreement. Those increases, if any, will be negotiated by the police union and the city at the appropriate time. The city did maintain all of its management rights. No changes to health insurance, meaning no increase in the city's contribution towards health insurance. I do understand rates went up somewhat this year. There were no changes to the frozen bank concept for annual leave and medical leave. There's no change to payment of overtime for city holidays. Of note, we did give back the 2 holidays that we had taken from police because council ultimately did not take those from the other employees as well. So we did give those back. And we also took back the birthday compensatory day, which was kind of a compromise we had. So that was taken back. We did adjust some of the training and pay incentives for certain positions like detective, traffic homicide investigator, and for officers with a master's degree. That does affect a very small number of officers in the unit. We did make a minor $200 adjustment to the reimbursement for plainclothes because of an IRS tax issue. Other than that, there really weren't any other significant changes that I think should be brought to your attention. I believe you do have a copy of the red line version of the agreement. We think all the changes that are part of the agreement are for the good of the city and would urge council to approve this contract. And if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
I have 2, Mr. Mayor. What is the dollar increase, absolute dollar increase, 1 year to the next year in the first year?
The pay increase for this unit was $74,000. That's how much, based on what a 3% pay increase for the unit would cost. And the pay increase for fiscal year 15-16 is within that $74,000. I don't have to the penny, but it is within.
Thank you. That's good enough. So okay. You've gone far enough for me. On page 42 or 43, Article 32, salaries, effective January 1st, employees will be placed into the closest step to their current base salary that gives them a pay increase for employees with 4 consecutive years or more of unbroken service. Their initial slotting must give them a minimum of $2,000 increase. Otherwise, the employee will move up the next step on the step plan. It's a little bit arcane. So what does it mean?
Basically, what we were trying to accomplish is that these steps don't necessarily take into account issues like compression at the lower end, like starting salary. Recall there was I believe a 5, Mr. O'Connor may correct me, 5 or 6 year period where there were no pay increases at all. So you could have an officer with 5 years with a department making the same as an officer who just walked in the front door. So the idea was that to try to expand that out and to address that issue. So that's why the minimum of $2,000 pay increase came into being, and that's just based on their step plan, and so it's really officer dependent.
Okay, question number 3, and then I'll yield the floor. On the $36,982.40 that a beginning officer makes in the first year, what was that before? I'm curious, because it's been, well, I won't say it.
I don't think that changed. Did that change, Chief? That did not change. Beginning pay did not change.
How about the second year? Did it change?
The second year did change. Second down, there's less steps than there were before, but second down changed. And there's approximately 4% between each step. So between step 1, 2, and 3, and so forth, there's about a 4% difference between each one. And again, while it's a step plan, there's no automatic movement on the plan. Any movement is negotiated by the parties. So it's not like
That was the question I
it's not like in year 2 you automatically go to step 2, in year 3 you automatically go to step 3. Any movement on the step plan is negotiated by the parties.
What's selling vacation?
I'm sorry?
Selling vacation?
Selling vacation.
Yeah, selling vacation days.
Let me go to that.
Is that an term?
Yeah.
Where is it?
Is that in the annual leave? That's.
Randy, is that in the agreement?
Yeah.
Selling vacation?
Yeah. It could sell vacation days. I don't know.
Are we behind?
I'm sure it's not a very big deal, but I just saw it and I just went, what? I didn't understand what it was. I can find it again and then email and ask the question. And I don't think it's a big deal.
The only change we made to that provision in annual leave was going to a rolling cap, which the other units have and the city uses.
20.06. 26.06.
That's
looks like selling back vacation.
Yeah.
That provision actually hasn't even been discussed since I've been negotiating contracts for the city. So I can only take it hasn't been an issue for city management. But you can't, if you have your frozen bank time, there's no replenishing. That's the user loses. So once your account was frozen in, I believe it was 2012, if you take time out of your frozen leave bank, you can't replenish it. So that's what's the employee be reimbursed on upon retirement or separation from the city. So it looks like by this provision, you're able to sell back 20 hours. But remember, anything from your frozen bank would be paid out on separation, and you can't replenish it. So that account is what it is when it was frozen. So I don't know if that totally answers your question, but.
We want a motion to approve this? Or?
Well, we've got some more questions down here.
Yes, I do have a question. First, just my educational one for me. In the negotiations, I noticed that you would negotiate a premium for upper education or for attending a training course, but it's applied on every 2-week basis that it's paid. Why did they do it that way instead of just giving them a bump, an overall bump to the annual salary?
Like a stipend or? Well, I think I think you're referring to Article 30. Those are the training incentives for, like, for example, a detective, or if you have a master's degree.
I'm just curious why they package it that way. I mean, I have no problem that they do it. I think it's well deserved to recognize it. But
one reason that they do it, Ms. Turner, is because some of these incentives you may not have for the duration of your employment. For example, the traffic homicide investigator. The chief determines who the traffic homicide investigators are. I believe there are 4 of them. 2 years from now, Officer Odom may not be a traffic homicide investigator, which means I'm not eligible to retain that incentive, for example. Master's degree, you don't lose that. So, I mean, that may be one like you're referring to, but.
Okay. And that was negotiated. And, sorry, I'm going to get the page number. On 25.06, it says the city and the union agree that all premium tax revenues received from the date of this agreement into the future shall be used to fund current benefit levels and offset the city's contributions toward the retirement plan.
Good question. That's part of the share plan. There was a change, and I wish our pension lawyer was here, but there was a change to the pension statutes dealing with police officers, and that dealt with premium tax revenue. And if the parties did not come to an agreement on how those premium future tax revenues are going to be, premiums are going to be used, then it's required to be split 50% city and 50% to the employee.
That's the way it was done with the fire, just to put it in perspective, because we could not come to an agreement with them.
And these are the doc stamps, right?
No.
Insurance premiums.
Insurance premiums, okay.
And so we've agreed that, and this was really kind of worked out between Glenn Thomas, the city's pension attorney, and Cindy Lawson, the finance director, to ensure that for the city, that our agreement would be that those dollars will be used for funding benefits, not for another purpose, which they can only be used for funding benefits or split with the employee.
And to put that in perspective, the way the state law is meant, for example, in the fire area, if we ever get more premium tax than what is than is required to pay the benefits, the firemen can split that dollar amount up among themselves and actually get a check plus their benefits. So what this is saying is that we're putting all the money in to fund the benefits that we have in our plan as it exists.
To offset the city's required contributions to the plan.
89 or 80.
Yeah.
89% funded.
And remember, this is only when there's an overage, when you get more than you did the previous year. So this is not.
That's right.
Yeah. So if the city were to get more premium tax dollars this year than last year, if you don't have an agreement, then the city is only entitled to use half those dollars, and the other half would go to the employees. Here, what we've agreed to is that all those dollars will be used to offset the city's required annual contribution to the plan.
To existing benefits. One of these days, that might become an issue in our negotiations if the tax increases substantially, and we pay off the unfunded liability.
And unfunded liability is not, 80%.
You have any more questions?
I think about done. If somebody else has another question, I'll come back.
I don't have a question.
Is there any member from the public that want to speak on this? Okay. I've got to ask.
I'll make a motion to pass it then.
Okay.
Sure, I'll second.
Okay. Ms. Turner, I just want to give you a little moment if you got to.
I believe that's it. Thank you, Mr. Yeah, we talked on that.
It's a tentative agreement anyway, correct?
Well, the union's already ratified it, so tonight for the council is to approve the contract. If the council votes to approve the contract, then it's signed, sealed, delivered. It's a 3-year deal.
I'll show you.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Tammy, I'm going to have you call roll on this one.
All right. Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mr. Winger?
Yes.
Mrs. Turner?
Yes.
Mr. Old?
Yes.
Mayor Kramer?
Yes.
Jason, it's been a pleasure dealing business with you.
All right. Thank you, Mr.
You do a good job.
Mr.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Man,
I've got an issue for the city manager.
oh, sure. Sure.
On our Sunday issue of the Press Journal, there was an article on our canine unit, and I thought it was great. It's talking about how wonderful our dogs are, really supportive. Unfortunately, their barking budget certainly did not put Vero Beach in a very good light. They have us, average dog costs were, of having a canine were almost $4,000 a dog. The county was at $2,700 a dog, and Sebastian's was at $7,750 a dog. Obviously, I believe there's an accounting error here, but I think the public needs to know that we are, Vero Beach is responsibly handling our canine unit.
Couple items, and the chief is going to explain that because he did check on that and got that information. But to everybody, please consider the source, as you say, an article in the Sunday newspaper. David, please.
Yes, sir.
Sorry.
Good evening once again. David Curry, Police Chief. The our number was accurate. As of October 1 this year, our budget for our canine went from just over $5,600 for the year to the $7,500 number. And that's because we added just over $2,000 for the additional canine that we had trained in last year. So for 2 dogs, less than $4,000 a year. And what our canine budget covers is a number of things. It covers vet bills, it covers food, and just last year alone, $2,700 went to vet and food of that $5,623. Again, now it's the $75 with the additional dog. Vet, food, equipment, and certifications, narcotic and patrol certifications. Their homes have to be sprayed for fleas, as you can imagine. We have the only canine field in this area that all the agencies use. That has to be sprayed for ants and fleas and that kind of thing, spiders. They board their dogs, for instance, if they go on vacation and they can't leave at home or with somebody, they'll board their dogs, things like that. So there's a number of things. They may have a kennel at home that we've purchased and had made. There may be repairs for that as well. A number of things just under that budget as well. Now, you saw the $3,000 for Sebastian City for their 4 dogs. That's what they budget, but in talking to Chief Morris this afternoon, there's a reason for that. They have a private donor that every year donates $5,000 to $30,000 a year that they utilize, and that rolls over each year. So currently that balance is $55,000. So there's really no need to budget much more, if any, because they utilize the donor money each year. So they spend probably $15,000 or more each year on their 4 dogs. The Indian River County, I asked about that. They thought originally the number was what they expended and not what they budgeted. So I'm not real sure on that number, but I am real sure on our numbers.
Yeah.
And again, we added 1 dog and raised our canine budget a little over $2,100 to include those items that we talked about. We just had one of our canines chip his tooth on a curb. You can imagine what that vet bill may be alone. So we look at, just like we do every year, we look at our line items and our overall budget. And again, the additional training that those dogs received last year, the Sheriff's Department did, as I mentioned in our budget hearings. And that would have been several $1,000s to send them away for lodging, for training, for per diem, what have you. We trained them right here at our canine fields for $0. And we also had our last dog purchased by one of our local doctors, as you also know as well. So we get a lot of donors ourselves in that regard.
Thank you so much, Chief. I think as being a dog owner, I think anybody realizes, if you're going to feed a large dog, $750 a year of maintenance cost is not going to make it, even for food, much less for veterinarian service. And I do think it's important that the public knows that, yes, we are being fiscally responsible and taking care of it.
Absolutely. And the veterinarian that we use, we always look at different vets, and we always get the best prices we can for them for the best service and the quality of service. And as you can imagine, a dog that like a canine dog that's always out there working, the food isn't the puppy chow Purina that you may buy at one of our local stores. It's a good high protein food that keeps them fueled. So that's going to cost even more.
Great.
Thank you, Chief Curry.
Yes.
Just on that same note, I know we also got a write-up about the fountains down there on Royal Palm Point, and I read that article. I thought, we did that allocation in the budget last year, but where are we at with that?
The Rotary Club has said that they would take over the operation and maintenance of that fountain because from administration, if it was left up to me to make a recommendation, we would fill it in. It's great to have the Rotary logo up there, but the fountain is a very, very difficult thing to operate in the middle of your downtown without any real security on it. But Rob did go back to the Rotary Club and talk to them, and they said that they would take over the operation and maintenance of it. We pay the utilities and the water and all that, but they would maintain.
You're not talking about the Royal Palm.
Oh, you're talking about Royal Palm?
Royal Palm.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking about down on 14th.
Yeah.
The Royal Palm, we have let the bid on that. It's about $85,000 worth of bid. That work is in the process of being completed. Hopefully will be done in the next 30 to 45 days. And we did it at this time for 2 reasons. One is it's always cool at this time. Nobody uses the fountain. The second thing is the other thing is there's a lot of construction going on down there. As you know, that building's being built. So we thought that this would be a good opportunity to really go in. The fountains obviously had been Band-Aided over a period of time and needed some substantial work. By the time we get through, we'll probably have about $100,000 in that facility.
Okay. Is there any other questions for the city manager?
Not at this time.
Any
But
questions?
going back on the Rotary Fountain, that was another one that was also in the article. So
That's the Pocahontas fountain you're talking about.
That is correct. Yes, sir.
That's the one that gets the dishwashing soap in it every once in a while.
That's the one.
I'm not encouraging anybody with me. The city attorney, as we have any questions?
Yes, if I may.
Yes.
I know at their Utilities Commission that it had come to light that under our existing ordinance, it reads that all regular voting and alternate members shall reside within the city utility service area. And I bring this up for discussion with the council and to see if y'all would consider modifying this ordinance to have the intent of it being that that any regular voting member would be a customer of the city utilities. And the reason I do this is that Scott Stradley, who has served on the Utilities Commission for 5 years and was just nominated as chair, has notified us that he has moved out of the Vero Beach service area. Scott's a CPA, but like I said, he's been on the committee for 5 years. He's been a well-respected member of that. And I think it'd be a significant loss to the city to lose his expertise on this commission. I think the intent of the commission is that there be a Vero Beach utilities customer. And whether they are a business customer or a residential one, I don't see that being significant. So I would like to see if there's consensus on the council to ask the city attorney to make that modification.
I agree with that.
So what about if you want to be on the finance committee and you're not in the city, but you have a business in the city, or what if you're on another thing and have a business in the city but you're not a resident? I thought, or us as serving on here, if we have a business here but we don't live.
No, but the Utilities Commission is a bit different because we serve outside of our city limits. Yeah, we serve out in the unincorporated area that doesn't have a chance to vote for the city anyway.
The way it is now is if you're a customer of the utility of our Vero Beach utilities, you can be on the commission.
Well, actually, it reads you have to reside. Right, you have to reside in the service territory.
That's right.
If you have a business in the service territory,
if you reside in it, then you're a customer, a residential customer.
But you could be a business customer.
No, I would never go for that. If you either live in it, you either live in it or you don't live in it. It's that simple.
I tend to think the same way. That you
start making these little things. So somebody's got 5 businesses, and so one of them happens to be in the city, and you say suddenly you're a city resident. It's crazy.
No, but as far as
a Sebastian resident with a business here can be involved here. I don't think so.
But they're involved with the utility, and it's the Vero. It's Vero Electric, and your largest customers are your businesses. Surely you would want your businesses to be represented. I would think.
We're talking about people, not businesses. His business is not who's on the commission. It's the person that's on the commission. So I would vote no.
Yeah, I agree.
Mr. Kramer?
I'm just thinking of the abuses of it. You could come in and just, good grief, you could rent a lockbox with a utility service, but then again, it's an advisory service. Don't we have a limit there as that there's so many of them that has to be within the city?
No, that was removed.
I'd be okay with this, of just being a customer if the number of city voters was reinstated. I think if there's got to be a mix there to prevent the abuses of it. I don't have a problem with if you want to work with Wayne on getting language on it. Right now it's a concept. If you nail it down more, we could have something to see of it.
Thanks. I will bring it back.
But it was 5 and 2.
Right.
So you have to go back to 5 and 2.
Okay.
You can't go to 4 and 3 or 3 and 4 or 2 and 4. You got to have city people.
Yeah. Well, Jim, do we not have committees in place today where there are members that are outside of the city limits and outside of the utility?
The Utility Commission, we have a member from Indian River Shores.
That's right.
Required to have.
That's right.
Required to have one. But he has to be serviced by the city of Vero Beach Utilities.
Yeah.
We try to have the majority of our members be city residents, but that does not always happen on our commission and boards.
I think in regard to an advisory board, to eliminate certain people who, we want the best and the brightest, right, to help us with our problems, and to eliminate a whole group of people on an advisory board, I think would be remiss.
I don't think we're trying to eliminate. I mean,
we're trying to keep the balance in favor of the people that elect us, is what we're trying to do.
The only question I would have, and can certainly work with Mrs. Turner, but how do we determine when they're a customer? Does the individual need to be the owner of the business? Or even though it's a business, does it need to be personally in their name? Or if it's a corporation, do they need to be?
That's
how do we
we'll work, yeah.
We'll work on that. I mean, that's.
But I will thank you, Mr. Kramer. I will bring that back then as an agenda item for next time. Thank you.
If there's not any old business, new business, we made the suggestion of placing the city council public comment closer to the end of the meetings. I suggested probably putting it right where we have our public comment, and actually put the public comment right before the council members' matters in their public comment. I guess we'll be coming back. Are we thinking about coming back with an ordinance change, or
right now
what's the mechanics of that?
Well, right now it is in the ordinance. There was some time back we had proposed turning that into a resolution and just have the ordinance state that council will approve their order of business by resolution. We can still do that. It's a little slightly easier to change rather than codifying an ordinance whenever you make a change. Or you can leave it in the ordinance and modify the order of business in the ordinance, however you wanted to do that. Just so you know, like tonight we had a lot of presentations, and now the county, if the county commission, if you look at their order of business, what they do is early in the meeting they do have presentations like that, and then they have general public comment after all the public hearings, like after all the ordinances and resolutions and all that. I mean, it's your business meeting, so you determine how you want to proceed. So,
Mr. Mayor, I think like Penny Chandler or Mr. Wilson, if they make an appointment with Tammy, they should be up front. But I think the public comment in the last week, I've gotten 30 negative comments about it disrupting the meeting. I've gotten them for 2 years, and I firmly believe that your proposal is the right one. Do it whatever way you want.
Okay. If we don't have any dissent on this, can we have a resolution come back next council meeting and we vote on it?
We can do that. Do you want to
do it now?
Get with it
now? Yeah.
Well, it has been in writing.
Okay.
We can. We need.
I don't have a problem with that.
We need two things.
I'm with you on that.
We need two things. We need to do an ordinance. If you want to do this by resolution, whenever you want to make a change, we would need to do the resolution setting up your the procedure you want to adopt, and then we'd need an ordinance taking it out of the ordinance, so to speak, and saying that it'll be done by resolution. So it'd be two things we draft. If you want to get with me on the exact order, the way you want to place it.
Let's do that.
If it's up, if council is okay with that.
Just as a matter of a question to the council, where do you think it ought to be?
Well, let me ask this: if we do pass a resolution like that, and we have a group like we had here tonight, large group on the agenda, this room can get really hot, and they can get very tired of standing. I'm sure.
I think you need to have one for presentations.
Where they scheduled it ahead of time, you know that it's going to be, and the council can ask to have a time limit on those things too.
Well, we can throw
whatever it is.
So there's a limit to that.
Yeah. And the pitfall I want to watch out for is Tammy getting a call from every Tom, Dick, and Harry.
We had an exceptional number of them tonight, really.
Saying, I want to make a presentation, and the presentation is about, where we should be able to wear socks at Panera or something, whatever the case may be. So I want to avoid that happening,
Didn't we have at some time that council had to sponsor a
Yes,
presentation?
we did have a rule 2 years ago that if someone called Tampy, she had to get one of the five of us to put it up front, and that was a good rule. So that if Barbara Hoffman called, if she called Harry, and Harry would say, yeah, any one of us can authorize it, is what the rule was.
Yeah. Basically, it needed a sponsor, which you can do at any time. You can certainly have someone come in.
So suggest we put public comment then after resolutions, or the public notice items, and then you would have public comment there before we get into clerks' matters and city managers' matters.
That's fine with me.
I was actually I was hoping we'd get that after all the business had been done. On a lot of these things, the staff still stays around.
Like new business after new business?
Correct. Basically, it would be public before the
Right
council
now.
members' matters.
You don't think you're going to be perceived in as squelching any public comment? It's 9:40 right now, and this would be the time that you would be asking people to come forward to speak?
Yep.
I think you'd be under threat of that, but on the other hand, I mean, I would be more adept to actually engage the public and talk to them rather than, I mean, a lot of times I have the pressure of a lot of people sitting out there.
Certainly.
And I don't want to engage them, and I don't want to get into a lengthy conversation. If it's at this time, you know, we're done with the business, we can engage, we can talk. I'm okay with that.
And I may be wrong in this, but isn't this the way that it's done in, say, the city of Sebastian and other cities as well?
Yeah.
Yes.
In the county.
In the county.
Everybody else.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it. So after the business is what I'm saying.
Okay. Well, I'll work with Wayne, and we'll come back and we'll present that.
Good.
With that, I'm gonna move on to the matters, and you know, I've got just a few of them. One of the things that, you know, one of the nice things that we do for the community is, you know, I got the opportunity to present Mr. Sam Kiefer, a young gentleman with a Boy Scout that just attained the rank of Eagle Scout. And you know, these are probably one of the more enjoyable things that we get to do, is actually celebrate the achievement of our young people. And I would just hope that a lot of us, a lot of the parents out there, and volunteers that see young people that achieve such things, we would like to recognize them. And if someone would like the council to have them recognized, we'd love to do that. Our young people are very important to us. We did attend the Yacht Club's 90th anniversary, which was absolutely amazing. I didn't realize we had clubs that were 90 years old here in Vero Beach. It's no slant on the actual age of the club. Actually, they're younger people than 90. But it was really nice to have a great club here in Vero Beach that has weathered through quite a lot, and the hurricanes. They came back very well. I did attend a lot of the functions with the skate park. My hope is that we can accommodate that park and not be disruptive to the neighbors. You know, it really does address an age group that we just have not really dealt with in years past. I mean, it just seems like our rec department comes up, and then when kids get to the teen years, they just don't have any place to go from there. So I'm hoping we'll be able to find a match there. And then finally, this morning, I had the opportunity to tour the Brackett Theater, and hopefully we'll get that thing restored and bring down more business downtown. And with that, Mr. Old, I'll let you have it.
I've been away for the last couple of weeks, and back just when I got back, Jim and I were on the phone with FMPA during their listening to the CEO search ideas, which was good. They're going to go out for an RFP and search for a new replacement for Nick, the CEO that's been there for quite a while. And that's about it for me.
Yep. Ms. Turner?
I'm just going to say that House Bill 579, this is Representative Mayfield's bill to try to make FMPA more accountable and provide more data, made it through their subcommittee. And I think there was, the important thing with this is that there was quite a few people from other places in the state showing that this is not a local issue, which they've tried to pan it as. This is a statewide issue for the Florida Municipal Power Association. There are people from Green Cove Springs and St. John's and Indian River County. So we're hoping that that will continue to gain some interest. Mayor was talking about the Scouts. I had the pleasure of cooking at a fundraiser for the Boy Scout Troop 567, which is the largest troop here in our area. It was a real honor for me to help the Scouts out. My husband's an Eagle Scout, so is my son, so I think those are great, great programs. Remind everybody that this weekend, Art by the Sea at the museum, Friday and Saturday. And please mark your calendar for Saturday, January the 30th, to attend the Silver Star service for Colonel McIntosh. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
On the 8th and today again, I attended the Indian River Coalition. The 8th was actually the large meeting of all the 4 counties and 3 cities and Pine and so on. And today we had the smaller meeting. I was joined by Monty and Rob today, Monty before. There is an opportunity to get grants, and it looks like there's about $750,000 immediately that will be available, so we're hopeful that we can get some requests in. It looks like the smaller requests have a better chance, and of course they could be step system as well as stormwater, anything that benefits the lagoon. Our particular county has chosen that whatever we choose will be the first in any river county, so we have a decent chance of getting $50,000 or $100,000, which would be a good thing. The other thing is 2 things. A friend of mine has a helicopter, or an acquaintance, I guess, and he made it available to the group, Dr. DeFries and so on. And I've also asked Tammy to contact Dr. Dwayne DeFries to come here and give us an update on the Indian River Coalition in the next month or so. I think it would be interesting. The group is now formed. They're headquartered in Sebastian. They have a meeting once a month. The next one's in Volusia County. But I think we need an update from him, and I think we need to stay on top of the grants because that's how the money is coming. Of interest, last year there was $65,000 that was granted to no one because no one had a request in, which is kind of a shame because we could have used the $65,000.
Along that line, I understand proposals are due on the 22nd of January. Do we have anything that we're proposing?
Yes, that's what I was referring to, and I didn't make it clear. I'm sorry. Rob and Monty both are going to try to get requests in by the 22nd of January. They go to a specific person. They went over and met the person in Sebastian today, and if they're accepted by that person, then the question is they go into the queue, and then there's a management board of 6 or 7 people, I believe, and then they pick who gets what. But we would have a decent chance, really.
And from what I understand, that coalition, that I guess they have this $2 million that they're getting from all these groups, but they've expended over 25% of that on staff now that they have.
Yeah, that's correct. The first year startup, they put an office in place and staff and all the rest of it. I don't really have any details on it, but the first year, there's the $2.5 million is not all getting to the lagoon. You're absolutely correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Howell.
You'll be pleased to know letters today.
How about a motion for adjournment?
I will make a motion to adjourn.
I would greatly appreciate it. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
I was wrong.